Ever found yourself in one of these knowing but still doing it situations? You know the deadline is looming, but your fingers keep scrolling TikTok. Your eyes stay glued to YouTube. You promised yourself to eat healthy, but you still end up ordering a bubble tea with extra pearls. You were determined to save money, yet you still pull out your wallet for a can't-miss sale. You know what the right thing to do is, but something powerful inside you steers you the other way. And right after, the feelings of regret and self-blame come rushing in. Why do we betray ourselves in such a confusing way? It turns out the answer isn't about weak willpower. It's about a chemical in your brain, dopamine. And a famous experiment at Yale University shows us exactly how. Back in 2014, scientists at Yale ran an experiment with 1,600 people. They were asked to make risky decisions in a simple game. Choose a small, safe reward or a bigger reward with low odds. But there was a secret twist. Sometimes, before choosing, they heard a special sound, one that had been pre-trained to trigger a dopamine release in the brain. Curious about the result? When that special sound played, the rate of people choosing rash, risky actions jumped by 4%. This number shows a clear truth. Dopamine, triggered by an unrelated outside signal, can make us choose wrong more often. Dopamine, instead of helping them think clearly, hijacked their decision towards seeking an instant reward despite the risk. In today's video, we'll use this experiment as our microscope to look at our own bad daily decisions. Why does dopamine, often called the reward chemical, make us mess up? And more importantly, how can we steer our own decision-making ship with intention? First, we need to understand dopamine's true addictive nature. Dopamine isn't the reward itself, it's the messenger of anticipated reward. It doesn't say, "This feels good," it says, "Hey, pay attention, this could be important for survival," or might feel great. So dopamine doesn't necessarily show up when you do the right thing, it shows up when your brain predicts pleasure, relief from pain, or avoiding discomfort. Back to the Yale experiment, that special sound became a cue or trigger. It fired off a shot of dopamine, creating a craving to act to get that feeling of satisfaction. The players stopped evaluating risk objectively and were driven to act immediately to quench that craving, because their brains had already predicted the pleasure the quick action would bring. In real life, that sound is your phone's ping, the red notification bubble, or the sale tag on a product. Your brain learns these things might bring something fun. Dopamine is released, silencing your logical voice and flipping on the just do it mode. In the end, this dopamine rush pushes you to unlock your phone or click buy now before it sells out. In short, bad decisions often follow the same recipe, a near-term reward, achievable instantly with immediate comfort and very low mental effort. So your brain leans toward the near choice, even though logically you know the far choice is better. The real cost of dopamine-driven decisions is that dopamine only fuels the seeking behavior, not long-term satisfaction. Once you act, the dopamine hit fades, leaving you with the consequences: an unfinished task, a sluggish body, an emptier wallet. In the Yale experiment, players who took the risky bet after the dopamine cue mostly lost. They realized their decision was bad, but in that moment, they couldn't resist the urge. Do you see yourself in that? The regret, asking yourself, "Why did I do that?" That's the price the dopamine circuit makes us pay. In reality, your brain brutally discounts the future. The farther away the reward, the weaker the dopamine response. Eating healthy, studying, exercising, their rewards are delayed. Scrolling, procrastinating, instant stimulation, they deliver a reward right now. Dopamine's instinct is to tilt toward the instant reward, not the distant one. So what makes you make a bad decision even faster? The answer is stress. Stress creates an urgent demand for dopamine. When stressed, your brain isn't looking for what's right, it's looking for what's comforting. That's why when tired, you crave sweets and soda. When pressured, you procrastinate. When anxious, you zone into a screen. A bad decision in that context can be a survival reflex, not just a lack of discipline. What's more, every time you make a bad decision, you get a short-term dopamine hit. This lowers your happiness baseline, meaning next time you'll need a stronger stimulus to feel the same way. Each time you know but still do wrong, your dopamine threshold gets pushed higher, making the right thing feel more bland and the wrong thing feel more tempting. So what makes the brain of a good decision maker look like? The difference isn't about having or not having dopamine. It's about the balance between the reward system, dopamine, and the commander, your prefrontal cortex. The PFC handles logic, long-term thinking, and impulse control. The smarter decision makers in the Yale experiment weren't people who had no dopamine response. They had it, but they created a pause long enough for the PFC to speak up, analyzing, "Hold on, the win rate is only 20%. Should I really do this?" Imagine it like this. Dopamine is an impatient child begging for a new toy, and the PFC is the adult considering the budget and value. A bad decision happens when the child screams and the adult is helpless. A good decision happens when the adult listens, but then makes the final call. So, to make better decisions, we need to change our dopamine environment, not just try to think harder. By reducing the instant reward from bad habits, increasing the friction to do them, and giving small, early rewards for good behaviors, we don't need to convince our brain, we need to train it. Here are 4 simple workouts based on science that you can try. 1. The 10-second pause. Before any habitual decision, with your phone, food, shopping, take 3 deep breaths. This tiny pause cuts the automatic reaction, giving your PFC time to join in. This adds time friction, breaking the instant dopamine reflex and forcing your brain out of autopilot. When the consequences are clear, your brain's reward expectation drops, and so does the dopamine. 2. Clarify the real cost. When you feel the urge, ask yourself, what's the real price tag of this? An hour lost scrolling? My health? My focus? Write it down if you can. This activates the PFC and makes the instant reward less appealing. When the consequences are clear, your brain's reward expectation drops, and so does the dopamine. 3. Redesign your cue environment, just like removing the sound in the Yale experiment. Turn off notifications, put your phone in another room, don't keep junk food at home. This increases the steps needed to act, adds a time cost, and breaks the trigger chain. This is an environmental intervention, adding friction to bad behaviors without relying on willpower. No trigger, no strong craving. 4. Reward the starting action. Pick one thing you're procrastinating on. Set a timer for 2 minutes and just start with the smallest step. Open the file, write 1 line, read 1 paragraph. When the timer ends, stop immediately and mark it started, not finished. This workout links dopamine to the act of starting, gives an instant reward for beginning, removes the pressure to finish, and retrains your system at its weakest point, the first step. So, next time you catch yourself knowing the right thing but doing the wrong thing, don't be so hard on yourself. Realize it's just your ancient dopamine circuit doing its job a little too enthusiastically. Our job is to put the commander PFC in charge, create that pause, and take back control. What do you think about the lessons from the Yale experiment and these practical tips? Pick one of the 4 solutions above and try applying it for the next 24 hours. Then come back and share your experience in the comments below. So many others are struggling with the same thing, and your story could inspire them. If you want to dive deeper into how to master your brain to work effectively and live more intentionally, please hit subscribe and the notification bell. We'll explore more fascinating science-based tools in upcoming videos. Thanks for your time. Remember, willpower isn't something you just have. It's a skill you can train every single day. See you next time.